if people would just view January as progress not perfect, and they would just view February and March and the rest of the year and for the next decade as progress not perfect, I know that you would get a lot better results. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I'm an executive coach that helps successful professionals get wealthy outside of the office in their mind, their body, and their relationships. I'm an expert at this because I did it myself. I sat inside of corporate America in a seat just like the one that you sit in today. If I can do it, so can you. Welcome back to the show. My name is Brian. This is the Success Lift Podcast. This is episode 243. We're approaching 250 episodes, which is pretty cool. All these little milestones that we tend to hit in our lives are cool to just take stock, look back. I remember thinking episode 200 was cool. I remember going, holy crap, episode 100. I can't believe I've done this 100 times. That's for 2 years. So every time you put your head down, you get to work, you pick it back up for moments of time, and then get excited about some of the progress you've made, some of the distance you've traveled. I work with a lot of professionals in the financial services industry, and there were a lot of earnings at some of the bigger banks of some of the people that I work with, and they were excited about their contribution to the results that they got. And then they were reminding all the people, this happened at two different places, two completely separate conversations, two leaders inside of two very large financial institutions that we would all know. And they both said the same thing, that they were super excited, that they were contributors to an overall larger success. And they reminded everyone that that worked for them, with them, on their team, that they needed to go do it again. And that's what life is about. It's about getting to work. It's about achieving something. It's about taking a moment to appreciate that achievement and then putting your head down and getting back the F to it. So where can you do that more in your life? I had a different topic, honestly, to talk about this week, and I'll weave a little bit of it in, and I'll get back to it, and I'm sure I'll do it another week. But I thought it would be really helpful for people to get a look at what's going on in my life during periods of time, especially during periods of time that are not ideal, and during periods of time where I am not perfect, and that's every day. But from the perspective of struggling to do and meet the same standard, because I've been talking about standards all month, struggling to meet the same standard as I normally do. And what do I do when that happens? Because I know that happens in your life, and most likely it's happened in your life already in the month of January 2025. For context for everyone, a lot of you know, but I live in the Los Angeles area, and you need to have been living under a rock to not know that there's some shit going down in Los Angeles over the last 2 weeks. Now, fortunately, my home where we live in LA is a big place. We are on the complete south end of Los Angeles. All of the wildfires that are happening as of right now have all been more on the north end and a little bit east. We are about as south and west as you can get in the LA area. I live in a town called Palos Verdes. It's on the coast. It's a big peninsula. It's a big hill that sits up on kind of the southern end of LA. I guess Long Beach is technically south of us. Well, it is south of us, and I guess that's still LA County. So it's not the most southern part, but think like, for anyone, at least my New York City metropolitan area crew, like you could go from Greenwich down to Summit, and that's like the Summit, New Jersey, from Long Island all the way into, areas of kind of, northern Bergen County, middle of Bergen County, up into the burbs of Connecticut. Like LA is not that big, but it's large. So you can go 25 or 30 miles and still be in Los Angeles. I just happen to live 20 miles away from where all of those fires are. And there are, fingers crossed, but I don't think it would be apocalyptic. There isn't enough that could burn between there and here. And there isn't enough. Although I live on a big hill, I don't live next to a mountain. I don't live next to a mountain range like the Pacific Palisades and Malibu and some of the areas a little bit east. have mountains up against them. So there just isn't a chance for fire here, in my opinion, in my non-expert opinion. But obviously, it's becoming a bit stressful here because, unfortunately, it's impossible not to know anyone that has now been affected because so many people have been affected. And so there have been probably 80 or so families at my son's high school that have been affected, losing homes, being displaced. I work with a lot of professionals in the financial services industry. As I just mentioned, there are some major financial institutions based in the LA area, or at least have large offices in the LA area, and they have a lot of families that have been displaced. And so it's just impossible not to know anybody at this point. It's kind of like, and I'm not comparing this because of the human life loss, and I was actually in Manhattan during 9/11, and it's not comparable. But from the perspective of like, if you were living in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut in 2001, it was impossible not to know someone who was affected directly, who lost a loved one, or somehow affected indirectly by 9/11. And this is kind of like that sort of same thing without the loss of life. Now, there have been some people who lost their life. That's very sad, but nothing on the scale of 9/11. So it's not the comparison. I'm just saying everyone knows somebody who's been displaced, had to move, had their house burned down. Think of like an entire suburb town. So for my, for my New Jersey people, New York people, just think like town of Greenwich being wiped out, the town of Ridgewood, town of Tenafly, the town of Huntington, Long Island, just being wiped out, like just gonzo. And that's kind of what happened in a couple of towns. Super sad. So why am I giving you this context? I'm giving you this context because I have started to realize that I'm not that insulated from feeling the effects of some of the things going on. And so it's manifested in a few different things. And I'm not 100% sure if, it's because of the situation that's happening, around here. But the math is starting to math for me, as they say. And so what I mean by that is like, I've been sleeping poorly. I'm feeling much more stressed. I've been feeling much more anxious. My energy has been down. I don't know if that's like the air quality here. I'm not really sure. Obviously, my energy is down because my sleep is poor. My sleep gets poor because my stress is high. And it's a cycle that we can get in as individuals that is really tough to break. And so then you lean on caffeine, you lean on nicotine. Some people lean on other vices that are, gambling, drugs, alcohol, just to get them to sleep or to sedate them for a period of time. I certainly lived that life for, 15 years. And so what happens, during these periods, and I thought about this because it's like, this is kind of the week, this past weekend and this week, I would say statistically is probably where resolutions go to like their serious burial grave, right? For 2025 and each new year. We're pushing into the third, I believe, full week of January, right? And you've now had 2 full weekends and something's come up and you've likely decided that this isn't a sustainable way for you to do whatever it is you wanted to do in the new year. And so you throw in the towel. And so I thought about this. So I titled the conversation "Progress Not Perfect" because that's kind of how my life has been over the last 7 days. And if people would just view January as progress not perfect, and they would just view February and March and the rest of the year and for the next decade as progress not perfect, I know that you would get a lot better results. And so I just wanted to share, because I've been talking about falling to your standards and not rising to your goals, right? If I had a goal, if I was going to try to eat better, try to drink less, try to get to the gym more during the month of January, it would have been completely flipped upside down by schedule changes. My son didn't have school for 3 or 4 days. He had basketball games canceled. There were so many things that have come up. You're constantly looking at the news. You're constantly worrying. You're checking in on people. Thank you for everyone who has been checking in on me, who don't really understand where I live in the LA area, because I wouldn't know either if you lived in a major city and I turned on the news and saw the city fucking burning down and not knowing whether or not my friend lived right in the middle of it or 20 miles away or whatever. And so I talked about this recently, like what a cool experience it is to have so many people just randomly text you and say, how are you doing? I just wanted to check in and see what was going on. I see all this craziness and just check in on you. And it's like, it's re-sparked some old conversations with some longtime friends. And so that's been, really great. So check in on people more often, not just when you think they may be in harm's way. And I'm not saying this is, the fault of everyone. Like I said this in a video that I made. I'm the most guilty of this. You wait for, something sad, tragic or whatever to like step up and be in someone's life. A friend of mine, his son has cancer. I've been texting him a lot over the last 6 months, a lot, relatively speaking, to what I used to text him because we went to college together. We've sort of, lost touch. We've moved on with our lives. I live in LA. He lives in Bergen County. And it's like, why did I wait? Why did I have to wait until there was bad news out there about his son? And now, fortunately, continually great news about his son. Why did I have to wait to like reconnect? Because I hadn't seen him since I moved 5 years ago from New Jersey. Like, why did it take me 4 years? Or I guess we've talked sporadically, but why aren't we connecting more? So connect with people is the point. Reach out to people, check in on people, even when you're not sure, or even when things are probably really good. Okay. So back to this season that we're in of hopefully progress and not perfection. So I've been tired. I've been stressed. I've been a little depressed. Okay. This is where our New Year's resolutions go to die. I think people come out of the starting gates in January sprinting too much, and we all pull hamstrings, some literally, mostly figuratively. And so I wanted to review what I'm doing this week because I think maybe it'll help you. I think it'll help you hopefully craft maybe a little bit more sustainable, predictable, and ultimately profitable plan for yourself. So the first thing that I did, because I'm in a structured program for my fitness and my nutrition, funny that, maybe you should be too, I told my coach. I reached out to my coach and I let him know that my performance was altered or likely going to be altered because of things that I was experiencing. So I first off communicated with somebody who holds me accountable, who helps me with my plan. And right away, he had a few ideas for me to make some adjustments. And so together, we decided that it would be a slightly less intensive week from the normal things that I do. Now, what does that mean? All right. I am normally doing very structured, very intense workouts at the gym, lifting weights, strength training, resistance training, as they call it. All right. So we decided that it was going to be okay for me to just kind of show up, as I call it. And what I mean by that is I typically am recording all of my sets and reps in an app with prescribed exercises for me from him, okay, that I am then tracking and I'm following the plan to a T. Every exercise, every rep is tracked, all right? I have decided that the thought of that this week has made me go, I don't even want to go to the gym if I got to do that. So instead of saying, it's not perfect, right? So why I'm giving you this detail is because this scenario happens in a lot of areas of our life. When the situation isn't perfect, we decide to go completely to the other end of the spectrum. When in reality, there are like 6 stops on the way to where we take it. And so I want you to think about where in your life, I'm giving you all this context, not because it's important for you to know whether or not I recorded my sets and reps. Who fucking cares? What I want you to know is, and I want you to apply to your life is think about where in your life are you going from point A to point Z, all right? There are 24 other spots, 26 letters in the alphabet. We're testing my knowledge here. There are multiple other places that you can take stops. You can downgrade your standard to. So if my standard was one that was very high, not many people go to the gym religiously 4 to 5 days a week, have a structured program, record their sets and reps into an app on a notebook, whatever, that probably puts me in the top 5% of the fitness population, not the regular population, the fitness population, okay? And so we decided that that standard needed to be adjusted structurally. We needed to move it down the scale because there was no way that I was going to live up to that standard. And so the standard didn't become fuck it, YOLO, don't go to the gym, start to eat like shit, drink a bunch. That's A to Z. And that's unfortunately what happens to a lot of people. So we just decided that I wouldn't. Now, I am experienced enough. He knows and trusts that I can go into the gym and not be lost without a very detailed plan. So for you, maybe it's slightly different in a certain scenario. But for me, I could walk into a gym and I could get enough done. And I would argue most people listening to this could do the same if they needed to adjust their intensity or their standard of going to the gym. Just showing up most of the time is the win. And so that's what I've done every day so far this week, and I'll continue to do it. And so I'm actually breaking up all my training sessions into much more micro sessions. I'm there for shorter periods of time, and I'm maybe walking on the treadmill a little bit more to get steps in, listen to podcasts, try to get my mind right a little bit. I am lifting weights, and I'm not really worrying about it. I am like wandering around a little bit. I am focused on specific body parts and have a plan when I'm in there. But I haven't been recording a rep, a set. I've been taking the training session to probably 75% of the intensity that I normally do. And I just haven't been worried about it. And it's been therapeutic to be there. And I've felt like I've at least checked a box and moved on and not let things get too far away. And so, again, it's not my gym sessions that are important to break down for you. It's for you to understand that I looked at what I was currently doing and realized very quickly that it was not sustainable for a given season of my life. And therefore, I made a structural adjustment to not worry about doing this, but I decided to do something that was maybe, if I'm analyzing it now, probably one or so peg down, maybe 1.5. All right. 4 pegs down would have been not going to the gym, totally skipping it. But there are multiple ones along the way. And so again, what I want you to think about is where are you going from A to Z, A to M, A to whatever. Go to B, go to C if you have to. Okay, go to C. There are so many other stops along the way. All right. So I communicated with my coach, who now knows to expect maybe slightly less from me, to maybe see differences. Like he would look at my, I'm on an app. I have all my clients on an app. I use an app to communicate a lot with him to get all my programming. He's not going to see much from a training perspective. I told him, I said, dude, trust me, I'm going to the gym. I got this. You're just not going to see a ton in the app. Okay, cool. So we've set that expectation for the week. All right. I'm still showing up. There's less emphasis for me on performance. All right. I've probably reduced my analness, if for lack of a better phrase, of measuring things this week. You know, I measure my food. Brian, that sounds weird. That sounds painful, as someone said to me recently. I said, I don't know. What's more painful? You not having the results you want? You being 30 pounds overweight? You feeling like shit? Your wife not having sex with you more than once a month? Or doing a couple of things like weighing your food more. Now, if weighing your food more equated to more sex, I would say everybody would weigh their food more. I could draw a line. There would be several stops and a long-term progress plan to get you there. But I could draw that line. So my point is maybe I haven't been weighing food as much, but I'm not eating fast food. I'm still eating the same food. I'm just looking at general portion sizes. And then I'm estimating what it is, and I'm still recording it in my app. So I decided, here's another, hopefully, tactical scenario for you that you can take little tidbits of, because it's not important, the details, the weighing of the food is not important. I decided that I was still going to track everything that I ate, meaning I was going to put it in the app so I got information. Cool. I just wasn't going to be as anal about is this 4.7 ounces? Is this 175 grams? Okay. I decided I wasn't going to do that. So I just adjusted the standard down one notch. I'm estimating more this week. I'm using eyeballs because, quite frankly, I'm very experienced. And quite frankly, I could still get the same results using eyeballs. And that's the beauty of doing a lot of the things that I do on a regular basis, that it creates education and awareness around what it is, in this case, the food that I'm consuming, what the calories are, what the potential macros are. So I don't need to track anymore, and I could still get the same results because I put in enough time of tracking. And so people want to skip to the end in the beginning without going through the education. Likely at your job, you can do it pretty fluently because you've been doing it for a long time. You couldn't do your current job today as a 25-year-old if you're 45. And so people want to skip to being 45 in their fitness, in their nutrition, in their mindset, in their marriages, and they got to live for 20 years. Now, 20 years of living in this example doesn't actually need to be 20 years, but it ain't going to be 2 months. It ain't going to be dry January. It ain't going to be intermittent fasting. All right. You have to actually do the work. So I've reduced expectations down about a notch. I am eyeballing a lot of things. I'm eating the same food. So that's the key. I haven't decided to go off the rails and eat like shit because I know that that has nothing to do with my feelings, with my stress, with my anxiety, with maybe some slight depression for a lot of people who are suffering. Because I've experienced that result, which hasn't been a result, it's been a negative result, for enough times to know that I don't need to feel a feeling, think a thought, and immediately take a corresponding action that has nothing to do ultimately with the outcome that I want. So you have to have a moment in between to separate your feeling, your thought, and your next action. Is the thing that I'm about to do aligning with what it is I actually want? Almost 100% of the time, if we do that, it's very clear what the answer is, right? Some other things I've been doing is just deciding to reduce my expectations of overall performance, and I'm just resting more. I find myself laying down on the couch, sometimes in the middle of the day for 20 minutes, or just jumping in my bed. I have the luxury of working from home. I can do it. Sorry, if you work in an office, go find an empty one and just kick back on the reclining chair in there or the couch if there is one and rest if you need it. All right. But what I didn't do, and probably most important for this message as we wrap it up, what I haven't done and what I will continue not to do is use this as an excuse to fuck off. And I can confidently say that if it was our house that was so sadly burnt down, there would be aspects of my life that I would still be living. I know that for a fact. Now, would I be at the gym 4 days a week? Probably not. I'd probably be figuring my life out. Would I be eating like a slob and drinking every day? Definitely not, because I have a certain standard. So I've done certain things in my life long enough to know that there is no other way for me to get the results that I want. And that's what I talk about a lot, is building a body of evidence to support that what it is you're doing, it would be so absurd for you not to do it, that you just do it no matter what. Does the intensity and the results that you derive from it change from time to time? Sure it does. But you can't convince me that it would be worthwhile for me to go off the rails for a month, which is what so many people do, what so many people just did. To me, it's just the most idiotic thing to do ever in my life, because I have enough results living the other way. So there would be aspects of my life that I would likely have not missed a beat. Maybe it would be through more eating out and convenience style things, protein bars and shakes and Chipotle or turkey sandwiches from Jersey Mike's, but it wouldn't be eaten like a slob. I know that much, because I value what I do too much inside of my health, my longevity, my aesthetics, how I look. This isn't just about how I look. This is about me wanting to be fit for a long time so that I can get jumpers up with my grandkids. while they go get me beers in the house. Go get me another beer. I'm going to get a couple more shots up. Right? And so what I would love for you to take from this is whatever you need, but especially remember that there are multiple points that you can make stops at along the way in downgrading your performance for a particular week, for a particular month, for a particular season. Think about your next business trip. Think about your next family vacation. How can you just downgrade 1 or 2 slots and not 5? Forever, I would show up at the airport, whether it be a business trip or a personal trip, and go right to the bar. And I don't mean just like have a beer before I get on the plane, which I still do. I would say probably 50-50 now. Not every time. That's less than 50-50. Let's put it this way. Travel days equal drinking days, whether it be on the plane, as soon as I landed, before I got on, whatever. Travel, drink. I made that association for a long time in my life. Everyone did. Everyone does. At least a lot of people I know. Travel, drink, eat like shit. Travel, show up to the airport, rushing, stressed, drink, eat like shit, sleep poorly the night before, get exposed to a lot of people in a small area, and bang, all of a sudden, I can't believe I get sick every time I travel. How many people get sick? A lot when they travel. They're stressed. They're out of the routine. They probably slept poorly the night before. They're rushing around places. They start to eat and drink like they're going to the electric chair. And just like that, they end up sick. Weird. But think about, where can you downgrade a certain aspect of your routine and not let it all go? And so maybe that means you just choose to eat a little healthier. Maybe that means you choose to show up to work, and not work the extra hours that you're going to work. Maybe it means for you to, still get to the gym, but reduce your intensity. I don't know what it means for you, but I wanted to give you a real live look in to what I'm doing, and hopefully it helps you. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for everyone who's been checking in. Thank you. We're good. We're safe. Don't worry about me. I'll see you back here next week.